Hi, so this is going to be part two about my video about The Art of Loving by Eric Fromm. In the previous video, I talked about the first half of the book before he talks about the theory of love, about what love is and how to achieve love. Now I'm going to talk about how, according to Fromm, love is the answer to the problem of human existence. He first starts off by saying, any theory of love must begin with the theory of man, of human existence. While we find love, or rather the equivalent of love, in animals, their attachments are mainly a part of their instinctual equipment. Only remnants of this instinctual equipment can be seen operating in man. What is essential in the existence of man is the fact that he has emerged from the animal kingdom, from instinctive adaptation, that he has transcended nature. Although he never leaves it, he is a part of it, and yet once torn away from nature, he cannot return to it. Once thrown out of paradise, a state of original oneness with nature, cherubim with flaming swords block his way if he should try to return. Man can only go forward by developing his reasons, by finding a new harmony, a human one, instead of the pre-human harmony which is indubitably lost. So when I read that, what comes to my mind is that instead of going like how it says, instead of the pre-human harmony, instead of looking to the past, instead of going backward, we in a sense have to go forward. And this also ties into like how Cyril's video talked about the right-hand path and the left-hand path. So in my opinion, the right-hand path would be going to the past and looking at what they did in the past and using it to do what they did and see if they apply it to here. In my opinion, the left-hand path would be what he says, man can only go forward, forging a new path instead of using the old previous tactics. He then continues on to say, when man is born, the human race as well as the individual, he is thrown out of a situation which was definite, as definite as the instincts, into a situation which is indefinite, uncertain, and open. There is certainty only about the past and about the future, only as far as that it is death. Man is gifted with reason. He is life being aware of itself. He is aware of himself, of his fellow man, of his past, and the possibilities of his future. When it talks about him, when man being born, that in my sense, when it's being thrown out of a situation which was definite, he was in the womb. He's in a situation where he knows what's happening. But now, when he's thrown into this indefinite situation, he has no clue what's going to happen. He's like, what am I supposed to do? Should I do this? Should I do that? I don't know. I'm so lost. But man is gifted with reason, so that should help him. He is life being aware of itself, so he knows within himself, with his consciousness and his unconsciousness, that he has the awareness of himself, of his fellow man, of his past, and the possibilities of his future. He has that awareness. He just has to use it to his potential. Then Fromm later talks about how that all of this awareness of himself as a separate entity leads to this awareness of his aloneness and separateness, of his helplessness before the forces of nature and of society. All this makes its separate, disunited existence an unbearable prison. He would become insane could he not liberate himself from this prison and reach out, unite himself in some form of other with men, with the world outside. The experience of separateness arouses anxiety. It is indeed the source of all anxiety. So because of the awareness of himself, so the self, because he is aware of himself, this leads to his awareness of aloneness and separateness, and that, I am alone in this world, I'm separate in this world, and there's no one else that will kind of help me in this world. And then Fromm talked about how man could become insane because he could not liberate, if he could not liberate himself from this prison, try to reconnect with other men through this world. And this experience of separateness arouses anxiety, and this is the source of all anxiety. And now if we tie this back into what Reggie Ray say, and how anxiety is where was it? How anxiety is the awakening of ourselves, like how Reggie Ray said in his when we were listening to his audiobooks, it's the awakening of oneself. So anxiety is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And it's also going to tie into the left and right hand path. And what if right hand path is what we typically think? Anxiety is bad. Do not have it. If I have it, people are gonna think I'm crazy, etc. Left hand path is, what if anxiety is a good thing? What if I follow this exciting path? And then that's where I want to lead into how Cyril talked about the left and right-hand path, and how with this concept of aloneness and separateness, you could, instead of going on this path and this path, you could go on those paths, but at one point in time, go connect and then diverge and then keep connecting and diverging. So for like, it goes on to saying, being separate means being cut off without any capacity to use my human powers. Hence, to be separate means to be helpless, unable to grasp over the world, things and people actively. It means that the world can invade me without my ability to react. Thus, separateness is the source of intense anxiety. Beyond that, it arouses shame and a feeling of guilt. This experience of guilt and shame and this separateness is expressed in the biblical story of Adam. Well, we know what the biblical story of Adam is. Should we assume that a myth as old as elementary as this has the prudish morals of the 19th century outlook, and the important point the story wants us to convey to us is the embarrassment that their genitals were visible? No, that's not true. That's not what the story wanted us to see. If that would be pretty childish. The main point is, which seems to be the following: after man and woman have become aware of themselves and of each other, they are aware of their separateness and of their differences, inasmuch as they belong to different sexes. But while recognizing their separateness, they remain strangers, because they have not yet learned to love each other. As is made very clear by the fact Adam defends himself by blaming Eve rather than trying to defend her. The awareness of human separation without reunion by love is the source of shame. It is at the same time the source of guilt and anxiety. So, right there, Fromm tells us right there, in order to achieve union with like another human, to not have human separation, you kind of need love. And that's where it also, that's very key, because in the first part he talked about how love is, you can think of it as like an art. You have to take time, you have to take it like a class, take it as a theory, etc., and you have to really dig deep into it, which I found really moving. And then it continues, the deepest need of man, that is the need to overcome his separateness, to leave the prison, then is the need to leave the prison of his aloneness. The absolute failure to achieve this means insanity, because the panic of complete isolation can be overcome only by such a radical withdrawal from the world outside that the feeling of separation disappears, because the world outside from which one is separated has disappeared. Well, when I think of that, not everybody wants to be together. I mean, we obviously know that some people aren't going to marry and some people are going to marry. So for some people, this doesn't necessarily apply that, oh, I need to be with somebody. I can't be separate. Well, for some other people, it is, I do not want to be separate. I have to marry someone. This is once again where the right and left-hand path connects. The left-hand path, oh, I can be separate. I'll be fine. Right-hand path, I can't be separate. I need to be with someone. Then Fromm talks about, where is it? Oh, the unit, and then he talks about how the answer to the achievement of the union, of fusion with another person, is in love. This desire for interpersonal fusion is the most powerful striving man. It is the most fundamental passion. It is the force which keeps the human race together, the clan, the family, society. The failure to achieve it means insanity or destruction, self-destruction, destruction of others. Without love, humanity cannot exist for a day. That quote also stood out to me. Without love, humanity cannot exist for a day. Because think about it. If we wouldn't be here without it, we wouldn't stick together. We wouldn't have that. We wouldn't have this like sort of bond with humanity that we have with others. We wouldn't have a bond. Our parents wouldn't have a bond with each other. Their parents, and etc., etc. Adam and Eve wouldn't have a bond with each other if they didn't love each other. If you want to think about it in that concept. So, I just wanted to summarize that up by saying what Fromm essentially means is that love is very key. We need love, and if you don't want to be separate, if you want to be with somebody, you need love. Thank you for watching this video.